I get asked a lot of questions about spark plugs. What type should I use? What heat range should I use? What should I gap it at? And you know, it's hard to answer those questions because those things are very specific to your combination, your type of engine, the type of combustion chamber, the type of fuel, the type of situation that you use it in. It's impossible to answer a broad question like that without a ton of information. So if you're looking for that type of thing, you want to hit the forums. You want to talk to people who are intimately familiar with the type of engine and the type of use that you're using. People ask about what's the best brand. I use Autolites. I'm not sponsored by these people. I go to the parts store and I buy these just like everybody else does. But I've used Autolites almost exclusively for almost 40 years now. They've proven themselves to me over time to be the toughest, most resilient plug. So I just stick with them. And that's the other thing too. Different plug manufacturers put different qualities into their plugs. And if you pick a manufacturer, it's kind of like when you pick a car, right? So if you're used to working with Oldsmobiles, right? You kind of want to stick with Oldsmobile things, because you become very familiar with them and you know how, the little intricacies of it. Well, same thing with spark plugs. If you start with like NGKs and you like NGKs, stick with NGKs. Don't be bouncing around and trying different brands, because if you try to read a different plug, you go from NGK to let's say a Champion or an Autolite or whatever, Bosch. What happens is they'll color differently, they'll wear differently, they'll have different characteristics. So, try to stay with one brand, one style of plug, and really get to know that plug. These things are super important. I mean, it's the one thing we all have in common, except like diesel guys. And the proper care and feeding, proper selection in the whole 10 yards makes all the difference in the world as far as your engine's overall performance goes. So, like I said, it's impossible for me to make recommendations as to which manufacturer, or which heat range or anything like that for you to use in your specific thing. But I can talk about broader topics, tricks, things that people do to spark plugs, and I get asked about these things a lot too. The first thing is indexing. Indexing plugs is of dubious value. In certain circumstances, it's necessary. Like for instance, let's just say you've got an engine with a very tight combustion chamber and a very high dome piston, very high compression deal. There's a chance that the piston on the upstroke is going to contact the ground strap. And so in a situation like that where you've got actual mechanical clearance issues, it's important to face the ground strap away. So you want to mount it with it, let's say this is the way it's sitting in the combustion chamber, you want to mount it like this. In other situations, people feel that there's power to be made by facing the open end of the spark plug towards either the quench area of the combustion chamber, or let's say towards the exhaust valve, or just depending on the engine itself, the specifics of that particular engine, pointing the open end in whichever direction it happens to be. I've messed around with indexing plugs on all different combinations. I've never really found any type of difference. I stopped doing it a long time ago. But if during the course of your research you determine that it's necessary on your particular combination, just the simple way to do it is you locate the ground strap, take a Sharpie, mark the ceramic, and now install the plug so that the ceramic is pointing where you need it to be. There's two ways to do this. You can buy indexing washers. They're like $10 or $12 for the pack, and they're different thickness washers, and you use it in place of the crush washer that they put on the plug standard. And by using different thickness washers, you can tighten the plug into the position that puts the ground strap where you need it to be. Or you could do like we used to do in the old days and double up on the crush washers, put two of them on there, and then you can tighten the plug, get it where you want it to be, and that second crush washer will kind of keep the plug where it wants to be. Remember, you never want to gorilla a plug into an engine. You always want to make them just a little bit more than cute. So, but those are the ways that you would, and the reasons why you would index a plug. Dubious value. Side gapping, on the other hand, is almost always beneficial. So here's how this works. When they manufacture a spark plug, so this is one right out of the box, you'll see that the ground strap covers the electrode nearly completely. And the reason for that is because, well, there's two reasons for that. The first is that the ground strap acts as a little bit of an umbrella for the electrode itself. So as mixture is being blown at the spark plug, the ground strap acts to move the heavier parts of that mixture away from the electrode, thus keeping this area here kind of dry, relatively dry. And when you foul a spark plug, what's happening is you're getting moisture, you're getting fuel or moisture, oil, whatever it would happen to be, between the electrode and the ceramic that surrounds it. Once that area in there becomes wet, the plug no longer fires externally. So that's the main reason why street plugs are almost always a full ground strap just like that. There are race plugs that come side gapped already. They've got a shortened electrode. There's all different circumstances with that. But for the most part, you could take any street plug and turn it into a race plug by simply side gapping it. And all you do with that, here's one that I did right before the video, is you just take a pair of side cutters, grab in there and just snip off the electrode. Then take a point file and just clean it all up. They don't snip cleanly, obviously, so you need to take off any burrs or sharp edges or anything like that. Make sure everything is kind of rounded. You never want any sharp edges on your combustion chambers. I've seen guys cut these with whizzer wheels. I've cut them with whizzer wheels too, but what I found with that is that the ground strap is made of kind of a different material than the rest of the plug body. They weld it onto the plug body. And it's made of a slightly different material, and when you hit it with a whizzer wheel, it kind of gets melty and all weird and stuff like that. So I found that the easiest way to do it is just snip. Now, here's a word of caution when you, the reason why you want to do this is because now, instead of when the spark fires, the spark being shielded by the ground strap, now the spark is firing diagonally across and it's wide open. So more of the mixture is exposed directly to the spark. I can't tell you what that's worth in terms of actual horsepower on a dyno. I'm sure somebody with a dyno can do that. I can't. What I can tell you is that it optimizes the spark's relationship to the mixture. So whether or not you actually pick up numbers on a dyno, you actually see it on the ET, what you're doing is it's another step towards optimization. And in hot rodding, that's really the main thing, is to optimize every little deal. You may not feel this, you may not feel that, you may not feel the other thing, but when you combine all of those things together, they work and increase the efficiency of the combination, and efficiency is horsepower and horsepower is speed, and that's what you're looking for, right? Word of caution when you do this, and I've done this myself and I've seen this countless times. After you've snipped your ground strap and you've cleaned the burrs on this thing, you have to gap it with a wire style gapping tool like this anymore. You can't use a flat feeler gauge. You can't use one of them graduated, spark plug gappers. You need a wire style gapper. After you've cut your ground strap and you go to gap, go easy on this. Don't try to ever force the wire through. And the reason for that is because as you're forcing the wire through, you're pushing the electrode this way, and the only thing supporting the electrode is this ceramic, which you will crack. You'll think that you actually gapped it. You think that it's gapped, but what actually happens is the ceramic will fracture and the electrode will move away, and so you'll think it's gapped, but you actually just broke the plug. So you want to make sure that after you've cut back your ground strap and you start to gap, that you work your gap in there easy. Don't force it. Just nice and like a gentleman, right? So that's it. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to give our GT a tune-up. We're going to run before and after. We ran a best of 1582 with probably a 10,000 mile old tune-up on the thing right now. So we're going to give it fresh plugs, points, and all of that. Go back and run it again this weekend, and see how that improves. And also I picked up another set because we're going to do a video on plug reading, which is like super important. If you try to get a tune-up on your car, you know, a lot of guys are like, oh, you got to go with air-fuel ratio meter and all that. And I don't disagree. An air-fuel ratio meter is good, but it won't tell you where the distribution is. It'll tell you you've got the right amount of area of fuel, of jetting or injector. It'll tell you if you're the right volume of fuel, but it's not telling you how it's being distributed. So plug reading and the right method of reading the plug, super important. So we're going to do that also next. So I hope you got something out of that. And oh, yeah, I wanted to show you guys this. Look, it's an actual NOS Mopar Champion spark plug from like the late 70s, right? How often do you see that? That's hardcore Mopar, right? So that's it. See you tomorrow.